A sniper watched me from the woods for 18 months. Then bullets shattered my window in love story. The bullet shattered the morning silence before Emma heard the crack of the rifle. Glass exploded across her kitchen table, hot coffee splashing her hands as she dove to the floor. Her heart hammered against the cold tile. Another shot punched through the window, embedding itself in the wall where her head had been seconds before. Welcome to Heartbound Ashes, where love meets danger and protection comes at a price. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more emotional stories that will leave you breathless. Emma Crawford pressed herself flat against the kitchen island, her breath coming in short gasps. Someone was trying to kill her. But why? She was nobody, just a wildlife photographer who'd inherited her grandfather's remote cabin in the Montana mountains 6 months ago. She kept to herself, barely saw another soul, except when she drove 2 hours into town for supplies. A third shot rang out, closer this time. Then, silence. Emma's hands trembled as she reached for her phone. No signal, of course not. The cabin was 20 miles from the nearest neighbor, surrounded by dense forest and rocky peaks. She was alone. Or so she thought. The front door exploded inward with a crash that made her scream. A man burst through, tall and broad-shouldered, moving with lethal precision. He wore dark tactical gear, a rifle strapped across his back, and his ice-blue eyes scanned the room with practiced efficiency. Stay down. He barked, his voice rough and commanding. Emma's scream died in her throat. He wasn't here to hurt her, he was covering her. His body positioned between her and the windows, one hand reaching back to keep her behind him while the other drew a handgun from his hip. Who are you? She gasped. Quiet. He moved to the window, staying low, peering through the shattered glass. His jaw was sharp, shadowed with dark stubble, and a scar cut through his left eyebrow. Everything about him screamed dangerous. After a long moment, he turned to her. You Emma Crawford, how do you know my name? Answer the question. Yes. Yes, I'm Emma. Who's shooting at me? Who are you? He holstered his weapon and moved toward her, extending a hand. Name's Cole Brennan, former Marine sniper, now private security. Your grandfather hired me. Emma stared at his hand, her mind reeling. My grandfather? He's been dead for 2 years. I know. Cole's expression didn't change. He hired me 2.5 years ago. Paid up front for 3 years of protection. Told me if anything happened to him, I was to watch over you from a distance until the contract expired. That's insane. Why would he? Because he knew they'd come for you eventually. Cole moved back to the window, his movements fluid and controlled. He just hoped it would take longer. Who's coming for me? Cole's jaw tightened. The people who killed him. The words hit Emma like a physical blow. What? No. Grandpa Joe died of a heart attack, the doctors said. The doctors were wrong. Cole turned to face her fully, and something in his eyes made her blood run cold. Your grandfather didn't die from a heart attack, Emma. He was murdered. And now they're coming for you because you have something they want. I don't have anything. I'm a photographer. I take pictures of elk and eagles. I don't. Did he leave you anything? Papers, files, a safe deposit box key. Emma's hand unconsciously moved to the silver compass hanging around her neck, the only thing her grandfather had left her besides the cabin. Cole's eyes tracked the movement. What's that? Nothing. Just a compass. He gave it to me when I was 12. Cole closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his presence overwhelming in the small space. He was close enough that she could see the flecks of grey in his blue eyes, smell the pine and gunpowder on his clothes. Show me. Her fingers closed protectively around the compass. No. Emma. His voice dropped lower, almost gentle. I've been watching this cabin for 18 months, living in the woods, making sure you stayed safe. 3 days ago I spotted surveillance equipment in the trees. 2 days ago, mercenaries arrived in town asking questions. This morning they made their move. If that compass is what they want, I need to see it. Emma's mind spun. Someone had been watching her for 18 months? Living in the woods? You're lying. I know you take your coffee on the porch at sunrise. I know you sing off-key to Fleetwood Mac while you develop photos. I know you cry every Sunday night when you look at your grandfather's picture. His voice was matter-of-fact, not cruel, but the intimacy of his knowledge made her cheeks burn. I know you're scared and alone, and I know those men out there won't stop until they get what they came for. So please, Emma, trust me. Something in his eyes, not pity, but understanding, made her decision. With shaking fingers, she unclasped the compass and handed it to him. Cole examined it carefully, turning it over in his large, scarred hands. Then he found something she'd never noticed, a tiny seam along the edge. He pressed, and the back panel popped open, revealing a small USB drive hidden inside. There it is, he said quietly. What is it? I don't know. But men don't hire assassins for family photos. He pocketed the drive and handed her back the compass. We need to move. Now. They'll regroup and come again, probably with more firepower. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's happening. Glass shattered in the bedroom. Then the living room. They were surrounding the cabin. Cole grabbed her arm, his grip firm but not painful. Explanation later. Survival now. Do you trust me? Emma looked into his eyes, those cold, dangerous eyes that somehow made her feel safer than she had in months. She didn't know this man. He'd been watching her, living in the shadows of her life without her knowledge. Everything about this was insane, but someone was trying to kill her. And he was offering protection. I trust you, she whispered. Cole nodded once, then pulled her toward the back door. Stay close, do exactly what I say, and whatever happens, don't look back. They burst out into the morning light, Cole's hand wrapped around hers as they ran toward the tree line. Emma heard shouts behind them, the sharp crack of gunfire. A bullet whined past her ear. Cole returned fire without breaking stride, 3 precise shots that bought them precious seconds. Then they were in the forest, branches whipping at Emma's face as Cole pulled her deeper into the wilderness. There's a safe house 5 miles north, he said, breathing hard. We make it there, we'll have supplies, weapons, and a secure line to call for extraction. 5 miles? I can't, you can. He looked back at her, and for the first time, she saw something beyond the cold professionalism. Concern, maybe even fear, but not for himself, for her. I won't let them hurt you, Emma. I promise. They ran. Emma's lungs burned, her legs screaming in protest, but Cole never let go of her hand. He navigated the forest like he'd been born in it, avoiding obstacles she couldn't see, finding paths through impossible terrain. Behind them, she heard men crashing through the underbrush, getting closer. Cole. She gasped. They're gaining. I know. Keep moving. They broke through a clearing, and Emma's heart sank. A cliff edge. 50 feet of sheer rock face dropping to a churning river below. Cole pulled her to a stop at the edge, both of them panting. He looked back at the forest, then down at the water, calculating. No, Emma said, reading his intention. No, Cole. We can't. The mercenaries burst from the tree line, weapons raised. Cole turned to her, his hand cupping her face with surprising gentleness. For one breathless moment, Emma thought he might kiss her. Instead, he leaned close, his lips at her ear. Your grandfather's last words to me were, protect her with your life. I intend to keep that promise. Whatever happens, Emma, trust me. Then he wrapped his arms around her and jumped. The world became a rush of wind and terror as they plummeted toward the river. Emma's scream was lost in the roar of water. Cole held her tight against his chest, his body positioned to take the impact. They hit the water hard, cold shock driving the air from her lungs. The current grabbed them, pulling them under, spinning them in the churning rapids. Emma panicked, but Cole's arms never loosened. He kicked hard, pulling them both toward the surface. They broke through, gasping. The current carried them downstream, away from the cliff, away from the men trying to kill her. Cole kept her head above water, even as the river battered them against rocks. After what felt like hours but was probably minutes, Cole dragged them onto a rocky bank. Emma collapsed, coughing up water, her whole body shaking. Cole knelt beside her, checking her for injuries. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, unable to speak. "Good." He looked back upriver, his expression grim. "They'll follow. We need to keep moving." Emma grabbed his arm. "Cole, wait, what was on that drive? What did my grandfather know that got him killed?" Cole met her eyes, and what she saw there chilled her more than the river had. "I think," he said slowly, "your grandfather discovered something someone very powerful wanted to stay hidden. And now, Emma, you're the only person left who can expose them." The safe house was nothing like Emma expected. Hidden in a cave system deep in the mountains, Cole's safe house was actually a sophisticated underground bunker. Solar panels disguised as rocks-powered LED lights, there was running water from an underground spring, and enough weapons to outfit a small army. "You built all this?" Emma asked, wrapping a wool blanket around her shoulders. Her clothes were still damp from the river, and despite the warmth of the bunker, she couldn't stop shivering. "Your grandfather helped." Cole worked at a laptop in the corner, his wet shirt clinging to his muscular frame. He knew this day might come. "Wanted to make sure you had somewhere safe to run." Emma touched the compass around her neck. 2 years. Her grandfather had been planning this for 2 years before he died, and she'd never known. She thought about all the times he'd seemed distracted during their last visits, the way he'd made her promise to keep the compass always. "I should have known something was wrong," she whispered. Cole looked up from the laptop. "He didn't want you to know. Wanted you to have a normal life as long as possible. Well, that's over now, isn't it?" Bitterness crept into her voice. "My cabin's destroyed. People are trying to kill me, and I don't even know why." Cole stood and crossed to her, holding out a thermal mug of coffee. Their fingers brushed as she took it, and Emma felt an unexpected spark of electricity at the contact. She looked up, finding his blue eyes studying her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "You're safe here," he said quietly. "I won't let them find you." "Why?" The question burst out before she could stop it. "Why are you doing this? My grandfather paid you, fine, but the money doesn't mean you have to jump off cliffs and risk your life. You could have just walked away." Something flickered across Cole's face. Pain, maybe, or regret. He turned away, jaw tight. "I don't walk away from promises. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got." Emma stood, anger flooding through her. "No. You don't get to be mysterious and closed off. Not after dragging me into this. I deserve to know why a complete stranger is willing to die for me." Cole spun back to face her, and the raw emotion in his eyes stole her breath. "Because I already let someone down once, and I won't do it again. Because your grandfather saved my life when I had nothing, and protecting you is the only way I can repay that debt. Because," he stopped abruptly, his hands clenching into fists. "Because what?" Emma whispered. The silence stretched between them, crackling with unspoken tension. Cole's chest rose and fell heavily, his control clearly slipping. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "Because the moment I saw you, 18 months ago, taking your morning coffee on that porch, I knew I was in trouble, and every day since, watching you, keeping you safe from the shadows, it stopped being just a job." He looked away, jaw working. It became personal. Emma's heart hammered. "Cole," the laptop beeped urgently, shattering the moment. Cole moved to it immediately, his professional mask sliding back into place. But Emma could still see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands weren't quite steady. "The drive's decrypted," he said, His voice carefully neutral. Emma joined him at the laptop, acutely aware of how close they stood, of the heat radiating from his body. On the screen, files began to open, documents, photographs, video files. Her breath caught. Oh my God, the files showed everything. Her grandfather had been an accountant for Meridian Defense Corporation, one of the largest private military contractors in the country. And he'd discovered they were funneling weapons to terrorist organizations, staging attacks to justify military contracts, killing civilians, and covering it up. This is treason, Emma breathed. Murder. Conspiracy at the highest levels. Cole scrolled through the files, his expression darkening. These are names, senators, generals, CEOs. He pointed to one name that made Emma's blood run cold. Senator Richard Holbrooke. He's expected to be the next president. And according to this, he's been Meridian's silent partner for 15 years. My grandfather was going to expose them. And they killed him for it. Cole's voice was hard. Now they think you have the evidence. They'll never stop coming, Emma, not until you're dead or the files are destroyed. Emma sank into a chair, overwhelmed. Her whole life had been quiet, normal, safe. And now she was sitting in an underground bunker with evidence that could bring down some of the most powerful people in the country. What do we do? She asked. Cole was quiet for a long moment. We have two choices. We can destroy the drive, tell them it's gone, hope they believe us, and leave you alone. And the second choice? We go public. Release everything. Burn it all down. He looked at her, and she saw the soldier in him now, hard, determined, dangerous. But if we do that, Emma, you'll have a target on your back for the rest of your life. Every intelligence agency, every mercenary, everyone who wants to protect these people, they'll all be hunting you. Emma thought of her grandfather. Sweet, gentle Grandpa Joe who'd taught her to fish, who'd told her stories by the fire, who'd given her the compass, and told her it would always guide her home. He died trying to do the right thing. We release it, she said firmly. All of it. Pride flashed in Cole's eyes. It won't be easy. We'll need to get to a secure location, contact journalists we can trust. There's more, Emma interrupted, pointing to a subfolder she'd noticed. What's that? Cole opened it, and his face went pale. More photos. But these were recent, from just 3 weeks ago. And they showed Cole himself, meeting with a man in a dark suit, money changing hands. Documents being signed. Emma's stomach dropped. Cole, what is this? I can explain. But his voice was tight, defensive. You're working for them? For Meridian? The betrayal cut deeper than she expected. How had she let herself trust him? Let herself start to feel something for him? No. Emma, listen, get away from me. She backed toward the weapons cache, her hand closing around a pistol. She didn't know how to use it, but she'd figure it out. You've been lying this whole time. You're not protecting me, you're delivering me to them. Emma, put the gun down. Tell me the truth. All of it. Now. Cole raised his hands slowly, his face anguished. Yes, Meridian contacted me 3 weeks ago. They offered me $5 million to deliver you in the drive. He took a breath. And I said yes. The words hit her like a punch. Emma felt tears burn her eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to understand what I'm giving up. Cole took a step closer, ignoring the gun. $5 million, Emma. Enough to disappear forever, to stop looking over my shoulder, to finally have peace. And I turned them down the moment I realized what they wanted to do to you. I don't believe you, I know. Another step. But it's the truth. They wanted me to bring you in alive, so they could torture you for information, then make you disappear. And I told them to go to hell. He was close now, close enough to take the gun from her if he wanted. But he didn't. I called your grandfather's lawyer instead, told him everything, had him set up dead man switches for the files. If anything happens to either of us, the evidence goes public automatically. Emma's hands trembled. You could be lying about all of it. I could be, Cole agreed softly. But I'm not. And deep down, I think you know that. She looked into his eyes, those ice-blue eyes that had watched over her for 18 months, that had showed fear when bullets flew, that had looked at her with something more than duty. Why? She whispered. Why give up $5 million for someone you barely know? Cole reached up slowly, gently removing the gun from her shaking hands. He set it aside, then took her face in his hands with surprising tenderness. Because 18 months of watching you wasn't enough, he said roughly. Because somewhere between the coffee on the porch and the off-key Fleetwood Mac, I fell for you. Hard. And I'd rather die protecting you than live the rest of my life knowing I'd sold you out. Emma's breath caught. Cole. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle or uncertain. It was desperate and fierce, full of 18 months of watching and wanting, of fear and relief, of everything neither of them had said. Emma gasped against his mouth, and he pulled her closer, one hand tangling in her still damp hair, the other splayed across her lower back. She should push him away, should maintain distance, professionalism, sanity. Instead, she kissed him back. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, pouring all her fear and anger and unexpected feelings into the kiss. Cole groaned low in his throat, and the sound sent heat flooding through her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Emma rested her forehead against his chest. This is insane. I know. His arms wrapped around her, holding her close. We're probably going to die. Probably. And I still barely know you. What do you want to know? Emma pulled back to look at him. Everything. Cole smiled, a real smile that transformed his harsh features into something almost boyish. That might take a while. Good thing we're stuck in an underground bunker then. They spent the next hours talking. Cole told her about growing up poor in Detroit, joining the Marines to escape, becoming a sniper because he was good at being alone. He told her about the mission that went wrong, the civilians he couldn't save, the guilt that ate at him until her grandfather had found him drowning his sorrows in a bar and offered him a job. Emma told him about losing her parents young, being raised by her grandfather, finding solace in photography because cameras didn't judge or leave. She told him about the loneliness of the cabin, how she'd moved there hoping to find peace but had only found more isolation. Until someone started watching me from the woods, she added with a small smile. Cole had the grace to look sheepish. In my defense, I kept my distance. Mostly. There was that one time you almost stepped on a rattlesnake during a photo shoot. Had to scare it off before it bit you. Emma's eyes widened. That noise in the bushes, that was you? Guilty, she shook her head, but she was smiling. You're insane. About you? Apparently, his expression turned serious. Emma, I need you to know, once we leave here, things get dangerous, really dangerous, and I can't guarantee I'll be able to protect you from everything I know. If something happens to me, Emma pressed her fingers to his lips. Don't say it. Cole took her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. I need to. If something happens, there's a secondary bunker about 20 miles south. Coordinates are on that laptop. Get there, use the satellite phone to contact Agent Sarah Chen at the FBI. She's trustworthy. Give her everything. Cole, promise me. Emma. She swallowed hard. I promise. But nothing's going to happen to you. We're both getting out of this. Yeah. He pulled her close again. We are. The laptop beeped another warning. Cole checked it, and his face went grim. What? They found us. Don't know how, but there's a team moving up the mountain. They'll be here in less than an hour. He began pulling weapons from the cache, loading magazines with practiced efficiency. We need to move now. Emma's stomach knotted with fear, but she stood, squaring her shoulders. Where do we go? Cole handed her a pistol and a tactical vest. There's an emergency exit that leads to a cave system. It's treacherous, but it'll get us out without them seeing. From there, we make for the secondary bunker, hunker down until we can arrange extraction. And then we burn it all down." His eyes were hard, determined. Every last one of them. They gathered supplies quickly. Cole moving with military precision, Emma following his lead. As they prepared to leave, Cole stopped her at the exit tunnel, his hand on her arm. "Emma," he hesitated, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. "Later," she said softly, touching his face. "Tell me later, when we're safe." He nodded, then kissed her once more, quick and fierce and full of promise. They disappeared into the darkness of the tunnel, just as the first explosion rocked the bunker above them. End of part 2. The cave system was a nightmare of narrow passages and sheer drops. Emma's lungs burned as she climbed behind Cole, her hands scraped raw from the rough stone. They'd been moving for 3 hours through absolute darkness, guided only by Cole's tactical flashlight and his intimate knowledge of the terrain. Behind them, somewhere in the darkness, she could hear shouts echoing off the cave walls. The mercenaries had found the tunnel. "How much farther?" Emma gasped. "Not far. There's a vertical shaft ahead, about 30 feet up. That'll take us to the surface." Cole paused at a junction, listening intently. "But they're gaining. Then we climb fast." Cole looked back at her, pride and concern warring in his expression. "You're tougher than you think, you know that. I had a good teacher. Someone who's been watching over me for 18 months. Despite the danger, Cole smiled. But it faded quickly as automatic gunfire echoed through the caves, closer now. "Move," they ran, Emma's legs screaming in protest. The shaft appeared ahead, a narrow chimney in the rock that disappeared into darkness above. Cole secured a rope he'd had coiled around his shoulder and began climbing, testing each handhold. "Your turn," he called down. "I'll pull you up if you slip." Emma grabbed the rope, her heart hammering. Heights had never been her friend, but dying in a cave was worse. She climbed, inch by painful inch, not looking down, focusing only on Cole's voice guiding her from above. "That's it. Left foot on that ledge. Good. Now reach up, you've got it." She was halfway up when the first mercenary appeared below, his flashlight sweeping the shaft. Emma froze, her muscles locked in terror. "Emma, don't stop." Cole commanded. "I've got you, keep climbing." A bullet pinged off the rock inches from her head. Emma screamed, nearly losing her grip. "Now, Emma." Adrenaline surged through her. She climbed like her life depended on it. Because it did. Cole's hand grabbed her wrist, hauling her up the last few feet with raw strength. They collapsed on the cave floor, both gasping. "The rope," Emma panted. "Cut it." Cole was already moving, his knife severing the rope. It fell into the shaft below, taking away the mercenaries' easy path. They heard cursing from below, the sounds of men arguing about who would climb without safety equipment. "That'll buy us maybe 10 minutes, Cole said, pulling Emma to her feet. "Let's not waste it." They burst out of the cave into blinding daylight. Emma blinked, disoriented, trying to get her bearings. They were on a ridge overlooking a valley, mountains stretching away in every direction. And standing between them and freedom were 6 armed men. At the center stood a man in an expensive suit, looking wildly out of place in the wilderness. He was in his 50s, silver-haired, with the kind of face you'd see on campaign posters. Emma recognized him from the files. Senator Richard Holbrook. "Mr. Brennan," Holbrook said pleasantly, as if they were meeting at a garden party instead of a standoff. "I'm disappointed. I thought we had an understanding." Cole pushed Emma behind him, his rifle raised. "Understanding's off. Should have accepted that when I told you no. Yes, about that." Holbrook's smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm afraid no wasn't an option. You see, Miss Crawford has something that belongs to me, and I've come to collect. The files? Emma found her voice, stepping out from behind Cole despite his warning growl. They're not yours. They're evidence of your crimes. Murder. Treason. How many people have died to protect your secrets? Necessary sacrifices for the greater good. Holbrook said dismissively. You're too young to understand how the world really works, Miss Crawford. Sometimes dirty hands are required to keep the nation safe. By selling weapons to terrorists, by ensuring conflicts that justify defense spending, that keep Americans employed, that maintain our country's military superiority. He took a step closer. Your grandfather was too naive to see the bigger picture. I hope you're smarter. Cole's finger moved to his trigger. Not another step. Holbrook held up his hands, but his smile widened. You're outgunned, Mr. Brennan. My men have weapons trained on you from 3 different positions. You might take out 1 or 2, but you'll both be dead before you hit the ground. Maybe, Cole said calmly. But I'll make sure you're the first one I shoot. Willing to risk that? The silence stretched, tense and deadly. Emma's hand found Cole's back, a silent message. I'm here. I trust you. Then Holbrook laughed. You know what? I admire your conviction. So I'll make you a deal. Give me the drive, walk away, and I'll let you both live. Miss Crawford can go back to her photography. You can take your money and disappear. Everyone wins, except the people you've killed, Emma said. Except all the families who'll never know the truth about what happened to their loved ones. Except the Americans who trust you to represent them while you're betraying everything this country stands for. Holbrook's pleasant facade cracked. Foolish girl. You think releasing those files will change anything? I have judges in my pocket, media outlets on my payroll, intelligence agencies that owe me favors. At worst, I'll face a few uncomfortable hearings, maybe have to resign. But I'll never see the inside of a prison cell, and neither will any of my associates. Maybe not, Emma agreed. But at least everyone will know what you are. And that's worth dying for. Cole glanced back at her, something fierce and proud in his expression. Then he looked at Holbrook. You heard the lady. Now get off our mountain before I put a bullet between those lying eyes. Holbrook's face twisted with rage. Kill them. Both of. The shot came from nowhere. One of Holbrook's men dropped, a red bloom spreading across his chest. Then another. And another. The mercenaries scattered, trying to find cover, returning fire at targets they couldn't see. Cole grabbed Emma and pulled her down behind a boulder. What the hell? FBI, drop your weapons. From the tree line emerged a strike team in tactical gear, led by a sharp-faced Asian woman who moved with lethal grace. Agent Sarah Chen, Emma realized. Cole's backup plan. How? Emma started. Called her before we left the bunker, Cole said, grinning fiercely. Told you I had a plan. The firefight lasted less than 2 minutes. Holbrook's mercenaries, caught in a crossfire, either surrendered or fell. The senator himself tried to run, but Agent Chen personally tackled him to the ground, cuffing his hands with obvious satisfaction. Senator Richard Holbrook, she said loudly, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, treason, weapons trafficking, and about 40 other charges we'll add later. You have the right to remain silent. Cole pulled Emma into his arms, holding her tight as adrenaline drained away, leaving them both shaking. It's over, he breathed against her hair. It's finally over. Emma looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. We did it. We actually did it. You did it, Cole corrected. You chose to fight instead of hide. Your grandfather would be proud. Agent Chen approached, holstering her weapon. Mr. Brennan. Miss Crawford. I believe you have something for me? Cole pulled the USB drive from his pocket and handed it over. Everything you need. Names, dates, bank accounts, evidence of every illegal operation Meridian's run in the last 20 years. This is going to bring down half of Washington, Chen said, examining the drive with satisfaction. Good, Emma said firmly. They deserve it. Chen smiled. I like her. Brennan, you've got good taste. She became serious. We'll need full statements from both of you. And Miss Crawford, I'm afraid you'll be in protective custody for a while. At least until we've rounded up all the players in this mess. How long? Emma asked, though she already knew the answer would be vague. Months, maybe. We'll make it comfortable, but... She won't be alone, Cole interrupted. Where she goes, I go. Chen raised an eyebrow. That's irregular, I don't care. Cole's arm tightened around Emma's shoulders. I promised to protect her, and that promise doesn't end just because we caught one crooked senator. There's a whole organization out there that wants her dead. So unless you're planning to arrest me, Agent Chen, I'm staying with Emma. Emma looked up at him, her heart swelling. Cole, you don't have to. Yes, I do. He cupped her face gently, oblivious to the FBI agents watching. 18 months of watching wasn't enough. Neither is 18 years. I want forever, Emma, if you'll have me. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, but she was smiling. That's the worst timing for a romantic declaration I've ever heard. Probably, he agreed. But I've never been good at this stuff, and I needed you to know that this, us, it's not just adrenaline or proximity or protective instinct. It's real. I know, Emma whispered. It's been real for me too. Since you pulled me behind that kitchen island and promised to keep me safe, maybe even before that, all those mornings when I felt like someone was watching over me. Like I wasn't alone anymore. Cole kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. Around them, FBI agents politely looked away. So, Agent Chen said loudly, breaking the moment. I'm going to take that as a yes on protective custody together? Emma laughed, still wrapped in Cole's arms. Yes. Together. 6 months later, Emma stood on the porch of a new cabin, this one in Oregon, far from Montana's painful memories. She held a cup of coffee, watching the sunrise paint the mountains gold. Behind her, the screen door opened. Strong arms wrapped around her waist, and Cole's chin rested on her shoulder. Thinking about the trial? He asked. A little. Holbrook's trial had been the biggest story in the nation. 23 defendants, hundreds of charges, media coverage that never stopped. Emma had testified for 6 hours, telling the world what her grandfather had discovered, what he'd died protecting. All 23 had been convicted. Any regrets? Cole asked softly. Emma leaned back against his chest, feeling his steady heartbeat. Only that Grandpa Joe didn't live to see this. He would have been proud, he knows. Somehow, I think he knows. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sun climb higher. Finally, Emma turned in his arms. So, she said, trying for casual, what do we do now? The trial's over. The bad guys are in prison. We're free. Cole's eyes gleamed. I have some ideas, such as... He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Emma's breath caught. Such as, he said, opening it to reveal a simple silver ring, making this permanent. What do you say, Emma Crawford? Want to spend forever with a former sniper who watched you from the woods like a creep? Emma laughed through her tears. When you put it that way, yes. Absolutely yes. Cole slipped the ring on her finger, then kissed her as the sun rose behind them, warm and bright and full of new beginnings. I love you, he said against her lips. I love you too, Emma whispered back. My protector. Always, Cole promised. Always. In the distance, a black SUV pulled up the long driveway. Cole tensed automatically, his hand moving toward the weapon he still carried everywhere. Agent Chen stepped out, alone, holding up her hands in a placating gesture. Relax, Brennan. I'm just here with news. Emma felt her stomach tighten. What kind of news? Chen climbed the porch steps, her expression grim. We found something in Holbrook's final interrogation. He wasn't the top of the food chain. There's someone else, someone bigger, who's been running the whole operation from the shadows. She paused. And according to our intelligence, they know who you are, Miss Crawford. They know you're the one who brought everything down. Cole's arm immediately pulled Emma closer. Are you saying we're still in danger? I'm saying, Chen replied carefully, that this isn't over. Not yet. Emma looked up at Cole, saw the protective fire reignite in his eyes. Then she looked at the ring on her finger, at the sunrise painting their new world in gold, at the life they were building together. Let them come, she said firmly. We've beaten them before. We'll beat them again, Cole smiled, fierce and proud. Together. Together, Emma agreed. And as Agent Chen began briefing them on the new threat, Emma realized something important. She was no longer the scared woman who couldn't ride a horse, who hid in a cabin, who thought she was alone. She'd found her strength. She'd found her voice. She'd found her protector. And most importantly, she'd found home, not in a place, but in the man who'd promised to guard her heart as fiercely as he guarded her life. Whatever came next, they would face it together.